Multicam simply refers to a setup involving two or more cameras. The first time multicam setup was used was during the broadcast of The Queen's Messenger in 1928. Three cameras were set up, capturing the first drama ever performed for television. From 1936 onwards, the BBC made multicam setups the standard for live television shows. From there, it was the 1950s that saw the next innovation for multicam. Filming in front of a live studio audience became widely spread in the US for television shows. Multicam made this possible as a scene could simply be shot once, without having to move cameras around to get more than just one angle. Three cameras have been standard, and up until the 1970s was all that was really required on set. However, a fourth camera, or Camera X, was added by Gary Marshall to film the sporadic Robin Williams on the set of Mork and Mindy. Robin Williams was highly energetic in physical performances, meant he often left his mark, meaning that the traditional three cameras used up to this point did not sufficiently capture the entirety of his performance. Therefore, the fourth camera, Camera X, was added specifically to follow and record all of Robin Williams' performances, therefore ensuring absolute coverage. Thus, more and more productions took up the practice of using a fourth camera. Whilst multicam setups are most prominently used to film television shows, the setup is occasionally utilised in film, most commonly when for set pieces that... Whilst multicam setups are most prominently used to film television shows, the setup is occasionally utilised in films, most commonly for when set pieces that are too expensive or difficult to perform more than once, or for stunts and explosions that would prove impractical to perform more than once. While this means sufficient coverage of a scene, the director does lose some control in artistic manipulation over the shots, rendering multicam for film less than ideal. Multi-camera setups are used in various different formats. To name a few, game shows, live sports, live music and the news all use multi-cam setups to record the content. However, each takes advantage of the setup differently, and likewise each is affected differently by the limitations of the setup. For something like the news, which is often broadcast live, the multi-camera setup is absolutely imperative to the success of the show. Broadcasting live means there isn't an opportunity for second takes or for one camera to be hauled around to capture different angles. In the early days, one camera was used, but this singular static wide shot proved to be uninteresting and the multi-cam setup was embraced for its power to allow a few cameras, which are managed from a central gallery, to recompose themselves and capture more interesting and involving shots which are much more likely to engage the audience. The setup in a news studio means that usually three cameras face the news anchors, capturing a wide, a two-shot and occasionally a close-up of the reporters. To one side there is often a screen that will display graphics. Things like sports scores are shown on here while another specialist reporting speaks. This usually is a mid-shot that also includes the screen. Finally, the green screen, or the blue screen, that is chroma keyed for viewers so they can see the weather, takes up a part of the studio. Again, the shot is usually something like a mid that includes enough of the green to allow for a full vision of the weather graphics. The programme is therefore split up into a few sections. The overarching presentation by the news anchors, who will report stories which are broken up individually and reported throughout the programme. The sports which will be presented at some point, giving the anchors respite for the next story. The weather which will be presented similarly to the sports, and the VTs and OBs which will be placed strategically throughout the programming to ensure that the viewers remain engaged and that the stories are being fully covered. Sitcoms also use the multicam setup, as they may so frequently be too expensive to utilise film for every episode. Sitcoms, or situational comedies, usually tell the life story of a few main characters as they go through the trials and tribulations that are supposed to be relatable to viewers. They go through breakups, problems at work, feuds with friends, etc. Ultimately, sitcoms are designed to be light entertainment, something viewers can just watch without having to think too much or have their ideologies challenged in any way. Therefore, things like cinematography and interesting composition can be overlooked in favour of practical composition, ensuring that the action is always captured well, ensuring everything is lit. Therefore, multicam is the most appropriate format as it captures all of the action on set and is suitable for high-key lighting. Live music, such as gigs, utilise multicam, as each song can only be played once. Therefore, camera operators must capture as many interesting shots as possible so an interesting sequence can be compiled from the shots. There will usually be one or two cameras focused on the lead singer, and then a camera each for each of the other members of the band. However, to recreate the feeling and atmosphere of being there, directors have also incorporated shots of the crowd and long shots over the crowd of the stage to create more interesting sequences. Conclusively, multicam allows for a cheaper, more practical way of recording live events, sitcoms and live broadcasts, as the format allows all the action to be captured at once via a few cameras, therefore ensuring that nothing is ever missed. Thank you.